What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Jason with JCS Reefing, and in this video I'm going to talk about Tropic Marin's All For Reef versus a calcium reactor. Now I recently took my tank off of a calcium reactor and switched over to Tropic Marin's All For Reef, which is basically a one dose supplement, alkalinity, magnesium, calcium, and some trace elements. And I wanted to basically compare the two. So what I did about 7 months ago, I ran an ICP test when my tank was running on a calcium reactor. And then I let the tank run for about 6 months. And then I did another ICP test with it running off of strictly the Tropic Marin All For Reef. And I wanted to basically compare the two and see kind of what we got. So without further ado, let's take a look at the ICP test by Triton.
Alright everybody, so here is the ICP test. Basically one is from 1030 and one is from 5.5. The 1030 one, which will be on the left side of the screen here, and the 5.5 I will bring up on this side. Now this is kind of new to me. I'm trying to figure out the best way to kind of compare results, but this is kind of the best way I found right now that I can do it with the software and system that I have. So without further ado, I didn't want to run these like a month apart. I wanted to give the tank really some time to settle in to get an accurate result. So the 1030 is going to be the one where the tank is running on the calcium reactor, and then 7 months or so later I ran another ICP test which came back 5.5. So on the left side of the screen we will open up the 1030, which is going to be the calcium reactor, and then on the right side of the screen we will open up the Tropic Marin All For Reef, and we will go through the results. So all of this is going to stay the same, mixed reef, just so everything is exactly the same. Now I'm not going to get into too much detail on the stuff that's comparable. The tricky situation is, for whatever reason, I don't know if Tropic Marin changed some of their stuff, but on the heavy metals and stuff like that, the newer versions, they actually test a lot more supplements, which is kind of strange. On the old one they don't test so many, so I'll try to go through it quickly. But most of the heavy metal stuff, let's just start there, pretty much all of this stuff is in the green. The calcium reactor stuff is all basically green, 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 0. Aluminum has like 3.52. So for heavy metals, there's nothing concerning on a calcium reactor. And like I said, you know, some of this stuff can come from all different things. It come from your water, salts, stuff like that. And then as far as the Tropic Marin, there's nothing really being added differently to the tank for heavy metals. So as far as that is concerned, they are very comparable. The only difference that I really saw would be the aluminum on the Tropic Marin compared to the aluminum on the calcium reactor. So the calcium reactor running was 3.52 and the aluminum on the Tropic Marin is 37. Now once again, it's still in the green, but for all I know, I mean, that could come from many different things. It might not come from the actual Tropic Marin itself. So let's go down and compare sodium. So for sodium, I'm a little high, but like I said, that could be your salt. Right now on my tank, and which I was running for this as well, it's the same salt, so it could have just, I don't know, tank went up a little bit. I tested that a little while ago. It was still 1.026, so not anything that's really concerning. Calcium with the calcium reactor was 443. Calcium with the Tropic Marin was 479. This one's a little different. Magnesium was at 1395 and the Tropic Marin is at 1535. So neither one really concerns me that much. I was dosing magnesium a little bit because some of my monopora started to discolor, so that could be part of this. I did dose a little bit of magnesium, so that could be why this level is slightly elevated. So once again, it still never really concerns me when it runs too high, as long as your snails and stuff aren't dying off. I wouldn't really concern myself with that. Potassium 382, and this is actually really good because I don't dose potassium, and with the calcium reactor I was getting 382, and I was doing water changes about once every month, about 20 gallons every month. So this was holding at 382, and the potassium with the All For Reef was running at 435. So believe it or not, I'd rather be in the 435 with the Tropic Marin. Bromide with the calcium reactor was slightly lower. The All For Reef is holding a little bit better. Kind of, you know, basically I just graph off of this little arrow and look at the green and the comparisons of the analysis and go from there. Boron's pretty similar, 4.274, strontium 9.43, so neither one of these are really anything to be concerning. Sulfur, pretty much the same. Now I don't know exactly what trace elements run through the Tropic Marin. I know calcium reactors, I was running the two little fishies, Reborn. That was pretty much all the media that was inside of that. Now I don't know, that's kind of like a up in the air thing if calcium reactors dose trace elements with melting down basically coral skeleton. But that's basically what I'm just trying to compare some things and see kind of the difference. You know, running a calcium reactor, I ran it for like 4 years, and I just figured let's try something new. And yeah, so that's kind of basically the whole reason for this. So sorry, sidetracked. Lithium 304, which is slightly elevated. Lithium is pretty much better here. Nickel slightly elevated, and 0, so most likely it should probably be 0. So like I said, some of this stuff is not going to come from the supplements that I'm actually dosing. It could come from multiple different things, so keep that in mind going through this. Yeah, pretty much all this stuff pretty much the same. So here's another one that kind of stood out to me. So iodine with the calcium reactor was very low, obviously. And then with the All For Reef, I'm actually pretty high. Now I'm sure some of this compares to other tanks. It depends on how much you're actually dosing. So All For Reef is a 1 dose supplement. So it's gonna dose probably steady equal parts. So if your tank kind of runs higher on a level like iodine, or it doesn't use it or absorb it as much, and it's in the Tropic Marin, then of course it's going to go on top and it's going to elevate. Same thing like calcium, magnesium. So that could be the reason why some of those things are running a little higher than they were before. All of this stuff pretty much similar. So silicone, that's like mostly your water, that's not so much. So phosphorus 6.79 and 13, so it's a little elevated, but like I said, that could all be water. It could be your RODI, it could be many different things. Phosphate 0.021 and 0.04. Now this was one other thing that I got a little higher because I was actually feeding a little heavier because I got some new fish within the last 6 or 7 months. So that could be why that's a little higher than it was before. But anyways, within comparison, most of the elements are very, very, very similar. There's only a few that kind of are a little bit elevated. But as far as it adding anything bad to your tank, I don't really see it. If it did over 7 months of dosing, I dose about 40 milliliters a day of this stuff, of the Tropic Marin All For Reef. And so 40 milliliters a day for 7 months is about what I was doing. And I haven't had an issue with it. And looking through the ICP test, I don't see any like heavy metals or anything that's real harsh for the tank that would stand out. The biggest thing is the magnesium level is definitely higher. So if it's dosing magnesium or calcium higher, then it should. It's just because it's an equal part, I guess, and they probably have certain guidelines that you don't want the elements to participate out. So as far as the alkalinity, I know the Triton doesn't test for alkalinity. So as far as alkalinity, that's kind of something I had to do myself. So we'll take a look at that. So as far as alkalinity, and I don't test as often as I should. So in 1 month, basically is 7.3, next test 7.3, 6.8, 7.2. As far as the supplement itself, I'm extremely happy with it. I don't see any reason to switch off of it. It's very comparable to the calcium reactor. So as far as that goes, I just wanted to share this and get it out. So that's about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And happy reefing.